Amnesty International has recorded more than 1,000 executions around the world in 2016. In Sub-Saharan Africa, I beg your pardon, there were fewer executions recorded, and China being at the top of the list for carrying out the most executions. This is part of the information contained in the Amnesty International Global Report on death sentences and executions for 2016. That's being launched today. To tell us more, we are joined on Skype from London by Oluwatosin, Popoola, who is an advisor of the death penalty global thematic issues at Amnesty International. Good to have you on the program, Oluwatosin. Thanks for your time.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So, just to have a look at some of the figures, Amnesty International recorded at least 1,032 people executed in 23 countries in 2016. How are we looking from previous years in terms of numbers?
Amnesty International recorded a 37% decrease in the number of executions carried out globally in 2016 as compared with 2015. In 2016, we also found that China was the world's top executioner, and that generally progress towards global abolition continued in all regions during 2016. In terms of numbers, at least 1,032 people were executed in 2016, which is about 602 fewer than in 2015, when Amnesty International recorded the highest number of executions in a single year since 1989. The overall decrease in the number of executions was due mainly to Iran, where executions dropped by 42%, and Pakistan by 73%. Excluding China, I must note, 87% of all executions took place in just 4 countries: Iran, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Pakistan.
Yeah. All right, so those are that's leading it. I mean, we're talking China, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Pakistan. What is it about these countries? Why are they still bringing out such high numbers when it comes to executions and being put on death row?
In those countries, the death penalty continues to be used massively, although we did record a reduction in the use of the death penalty in those countries in 2016. However, it's important to note China's use of the death penalty. China's true extent of the use of the death penalty remains unknown, as data on this is classified as a state secret. A new investigation by Amnesty International shows how recent claims of judicial transparency are undermined by the facts. Our investigation exposes that only 85 out of 931 cases of executions that Amnesty International recorded through media reports between 2014 and 2016 appear in China's judicial database. This database was initially touted by the Chinese authorities as a crucial step towards openness. Transparency is an essential safeguard of due process. The risk of people being executed for crimes they did not commit has always caused increasing alarm among the public in China. For example, I must note that in December 2016, the Supreme People's Court overturned the wrongful conviction of Min Shibin, executed 21 years earlier. And in 2016, the Chinese courts decided that 4 people facing the death penalty were actually innocent, and their death sentences were quashed.
It's actually frightening. And I mean, when we look at China, because there still is a sense of secrecy around the actual figures coming out of China, because it says that basically it's believed that thousands were executed in China last year, but authorities are deliberately obscuring the shocking scale of these executions, because there still is a sense of you're not really understanding the full picture in China. So the number that we're given of executions may be much higher than what is being reported.
Yes, that's very true. China actually is the world's top executioner, and it carried out thousands of executions, more executions than the rest of the world combined together.
Let's have a look at another sort of worrying statistic, is that at this point, even though there may have been less reported executions around the world. It's a historically high figure of people actually being sentenced to death. So we're sitting at 3,117 people sentenced to death in 55 countries. This is a significant increase. What in your opinion is going on?
We're not exactly sure why there's been a massive increase in the number of death sentences being handed down. Africa, for example, Sub-Saharan Africa, for example, stands out on this fact. Death sentences rose from 443 in 2015 to at least 1,086 in 2016. And in Sub-Saharan Africa, this was mainly due to an increase in Nigeria, where death sentences increased from 171 to 527. Excluding China, Nigeria actually carried out or handed down the highest number of death sentences. And the danger of people being executed for crimes they did not commit remains ever present. For example, in Nigeria, half of exonerations recorded around the world in 2016, where in Nigeria, where 32 people were actually exonerated by the courts.
All right. I'd love to chat a little longer, but we're moving into our news bulletin now, so I'll have to leave it there. Thank you very, very much for talking to us here on the programme. Talking to us all the way from London, Oluwatosin Popoola. He's from the Death Penalty Global Thematic Issues at Amnesty International, talking to us about these death penalties and the executions that are being carried around, even though there seems to be a slight drop in the amount of executions taking place. Those that have been placed on death row, however, have increased. So that's a big problem. All right, just gone 7 o'clock here.